You need your supplies. A piece of cardboard box from a cereal box. And what you're going to do is you're going to cut out a frame out of the box. I use a 2-inch border around it just to make it nice and even. And what you could do once you do that is take a piece of tape and place it on the top, so that way you can keep this in the same spot each time. So you can, like a window frame, you can open it and close it. Go ahead and trace with a pencil inside the line. Get other supplies. Make sure you have your paints or inks mixed together the way that you want them, the colors you would like to use. A plastic bag, or a paper bag can be used to create things. You could use a Ziploc bag as something to put paint on in order to create things as well. You will need scissors, an X-Acto blade, a ruler. I'm using a T-square, and your pencils. You may want to use rubber gloves. Rubber gloves will help keep your hands clean if you need to. So I'm going to first take this bag and I'm going to trim it out. That way it becomes one piece. Alright, so I trimmed the bag. You can see I've got 2 pieces here that I can use. I'm going to put it underneath my frame. That way I can, then using my Sharpie marker, I can trace my rectangle in my picture frame so I know how far I have to go with paint or ink, whichever I'm going to use. You could do this in layers. You could do it all at once with different paints going to different places, and when you smooth it out, it's going to create and kind of mix together. Or you can do layers where you let a layer dry and then you add more after it dries, and so forth. So I am going to begin with adding. I have 3 different types of paint blues that I'm using to create my background. I've got a blackish grayish blue that I'm gonna mix around. I have another blue that's a little bit more of a bluish violet. And I'm going to mix the bluish violet around in there as well. Then I also have a light blue or sky blue. Sky blue is my favorite color. It is calm color to me. Helps me to relax. I love to go outside on a nice bright day and see the beauty of the sky. Now I'm going to put on a rubber glove to smooth it around a little bit. Way I'm able to use it and fill in some of the areas that are going to need it. Now I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to try to carefully line up, close my frame, so that way it's going over the top of the frame. That will allow me to keep it from getting all over the border. I'm going try to thin it out. So one of the supplies that I decided to use is I took a sunscreen can that was empty, cleaned it off so that way I didn't have any residue on it, and I'm going to use that as a rolling pin. That way it allows me to smooth out the ink or the paint where I want it as well. You can see it's moving around and trying to get it to go towards some of these corners a little more. I'm going to use the other end of my X-Acto blade, which is smooth. Just kind of make a couple of kind of scratch marks, type of marks. See if it makes anything interesting. So one of the neat things about the Monotype is you can be surprised. You have an idea in your mind, and then you can be surprised of what it is that you're creating. I'm going to gently peel this off so that way I do not get it all over the place. All right. Move this to the side, and I may use it again. The paint shouldn't dry too fast, being that I've closed it inside of plastic. So I could either let this dry, or I can try the next step, which will end up blending some of these colors together a little bit further. So in faith, the value that I chose, I'm trying to think of how I'm inspired by my faith life. So I'm going to use another piece of plastic. I'm going to move my picture out of the way for a moment. That way I can lay this flat on here. I'm going to use a paintbrush to spread this out on the plastic. I do not want going everywhere, but let's see what happens. So I've made a tint of yellow, which is adding white to yellow, and next I'm going to add some regular yellow. I'm thinking of the Holy Spirit coming through. So I'm bringing these out, yellow out, as kind of like rays. And I think you will enjoy this process. It is fun, and it does allow you to be creative. Do things that might be faith-like. So I'm going to place it down now. See what happens. This one I'm not going to smooth out and smoosh everywhere because I don't want it to fully mix with the other colors. I'll peel it off and see what I get. All right, it's interesting. Again, I'm going to fold my plastic over so that way I don't get the paint everywhere, but then also it allows me to reuse it if I'd like to later down the line. The next step that I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of paper, the cardboard that I use, this is the other side of the cereal box, and I'm going to cut it out in the shape or form of a heart. So for me, in my faith journey, the Sacred Heart of Jesus is very special to me. So that's what I'm going to use as my centerpiece. I am going to take some red paint and I'm going to place that on. I'm going to place that on the cardboard, which then I'm going to lay down and smooth. So I have a reddish black, or what, if you were in class with me this year, you would know that it is called a shade of red, because it's adding black to a color. A shade adds black to a color. So you can see there's a nice amount of paint on here. I don't want all of it on there, so I'm going to scrape some of it off. Then I'm going to grab my other red and I'm going to add red to it. I'm going to wipe my, and you can use anything else. I'm using the Sharpie marker as a painting utensil. During this time of remote learning, it's okay to do that. It's okay to do that when it's not time for remote learning. Having fun and enjoying the process of creating, that's the important thing. One of the great things about art is it does allow you to relax. It allows you to enjoy time by yourself or with others. You don't have to create just by yourself. You can create with others as well. You know, share this time with your family. Enjoy creating and becoming who you're created to be. So I'm going to place this in the center. Wipe my fingers, grab another paper towel, wipe my fingers to dry them off. This time I'm going to use the tape to kind of center it and roll things out a little bit. So I'm pushing down on the cardboard. I'm going to take my X-Acto blade to lift it up. That way it allows me to lift without pulling too much. All right. I'm going to place this down here as well. Next, I'm going to mix a little bit of the red and yellow together to create some oranges. For the fire part of the Sacred Heart. Orange is created by mixing red and yellow together. Primary and secondary colors. And then for this, I'm going to use another piece of the plastic. Being that I close this and smooth it out, it allows me to then be able to use this as part of my next assignment. So I'm going to liberally add some paint, a little bit more reddish red to the orange to create a red orange as well. Create fire, which would symbolize the Holy Spirit, the light of the Holy Spirit within us. If you are not Catholic, it's fine. Just create something that has to do with your faith life, if that's what you choose to do. I'm adding a little bit of that deep red I used before. Now I am going to take what I just made here, the colors. You have to be careful because you can overdo it. And I am going to smooth this out. And then slowly peel it away and see what we create. Alright, that's interesting. Definitely an interesting way of creating fire. Then with the Holy Spirit, with the Sacred Heart, is the thorns, the crown of thorns that goes around Christ's head is then created in here as well. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to take a pencil and I'm just going to put the paint directly on this pencil. Use the pencil as a tool. That is going to spread some of the paint on there. And again, if you don't care for how something turns out, you can always find other ways of placing it on there. Placing the brown, which would be symbolizing the thorns. I'm going to kind of pull it out a little bit. Then I'm going to take another piece of plastic that I've already used. I'm going to fold it so that way it doesn't get affected by some of the other colors. And I'm pressing it on there and kind of pulling up. Again, don't be afraid to get the paint on your hands. If you do, then just clean it off afterwards. My print came out. Lift it. And this is my Sacred Heart that I decided to create as my way of showing faith, my example of faith. Hopefully you all will enjoy doing this project. Again, pick a value that is dear to you. It does not have to necessarily be about your faith background. I chose to do it on faith. Pick that particular value and create something unique that shows that value to you. Thank you, and you all have a good day.